Captain Marcus Reed stood on the bridge of the Cipher-8, his weathered hands gripping the worn command rail. Through the main view screen, he watched as sleek, modern ships of the Earth Alliance fleet glided past. Their hulls gleamed with fresh paint and new technology. In contrast, his ship, the Cipher-8, was a relic from another era. "Look at them," said Engineer Thomas, stepping up beside Reed. "All shine, no soul." Reed nodded. Thomas had been with the ship almost as long as he had, 15 years of service on a vessel that the Alliance had tried to retire at least 3 times. "Captain," called Communications Officer Miller from her station. "Incoming message from command." "Put it through," Reed said, straightening his uniform jacket. The view screen changed to show Admiral Parker's stern face. "Captain Reed, how's that old bucket holding together?" Reed forced a smile. "Still flying, sir. The Cipher-8 has never let us down." "That's about to be tested. I'm sending you coordinates for your final mission." Reed felt a chill at the words "final mission." The crew had known this was coming, but hearing it said out loud made it real. "We're being decommissioned then?" Reed asked. "After this mission, yes. The Cipher-8 will be retired and your crew reassigned. Some outdated equipment simply can't keep up with modern threats." Thomas made a small noise of disagreement but stayed quiet. "What's the mission, sir?" Reed asked. "We've detected strange energy readings at the edge of charted space. Probably nothing. Could be a sensor malfunction or natural phenomenon. But we need someone to check it out." Reed understood what wasn't being said. This was busy work, a meaningless final task for an outdated ship before it was scrapped. "Sending the coordinates now," Parker said. "Complete the mission and return to Earth Station for decommissioning." Parker out. The screen went dark, and the bridge was silent for a moment. "Well," Reed finally said, "it seems we have one last adventure. They're just trying to keep us out of the way," Security Chief Davis said from his tactical station, "sending us to chase ghosts while the real ships do the real work." Reed turned to face his bridge crew. They were all veterans, people who had chosen to stay with the Cipher-8 rather than transfer to newer ships. They had become more like family than colleagues. "Maybe so," Reed said, "but we'll do what we've always done. Complete the mission and prove that experience counts for more than new technology." He turned to the helm. "Officer Bryant, set course for these coordinates. Maximum speed." "Aye, Captain." As the ship hummed to life and prepared to jump to faster-than-light travel, Reed sat in his command chair, running his hand along the armrest where the padding had worn thin from years of use. Later that evening, Reed met with his senior officers in the ship's small conference room. The room, like much of the Cipher-8, showed its age: scratched table surface, outdated display screens, and lighting panels that occasionally flickered. "Let's talk about what we know," Reed said. "Miller, what information did Command send about these energy readings?" Miller, a woman with short gray hair and quick eyes, brought up a display. "Not much, Captain. Just coordinates and basic sensor data. The energy signature doesn't match anything in our database, which means it could be something new and important," Thomas said, leaning forward. "The engineer was always excited by the unknown." "Or it could be nothing," Davis countered. The security chief was naturally suspicious, a trait that had saved the ship more than once. "Either way," Reed said, "we're going to investigate properly. Thomas, I want you to prepare the ship's sensors for detailed scans. Davis, run a full weapons check, just in case. The weapons systems are outdated compared to what the fleet has now," Davis noted. Thomas smiled. "Maybe on paper, but they don't know about our modifications." Over the years, Thomas had made numerous unofficial upgrades to the Cipher-8, changes that weren't in any official record. Command would never have approved many of them, which is why they were kept secret. The ship might look outdated, but it had capabilities that even the newest vessels didn't. "Miller," Reed continued, "keep monitoring for any additional communications from Command or any other ships in that sector." There shouldn't be any, Miller said. The coordinates are far from regular patrol routes or trade lanes. Reed nodded slowly. Which makes me wonder why they're sending us all the way out there for what they claim is probably nothing. The officers exchanged knowing looks. They had all served long enough to recognize when they weren't being told the whole truth. Captain, Bryant said quietly, do you think this could be related to the rumors about the Vorn? The Vorn were an alien species that had been in a tense standoff with humanity for nearly a decade. Not quite war, but far from peace. What rumors? Davis asked. I heard from a friend on the Stargazer that there have been unusual Vorn movements near the outer sectors, Bryant explained. Nothing official, just whispers. Reed considered this. It would explain why command is being vague. They don't want to start a panic if the Vorn are up to something. And they might be sending us because we're expendable, Davis finished. Or, Thomas suggested with a hint of pride, because despite what they say publicly, they know the Cipher-8 can handle itself in a tough situation. Reed stood up and walked to the small viewport. Stars streaked by as the ship traveled through space. Whatever the reason, we'll be ready. This ship may be old, but it's far from outdated where it counts. He turned back to his officers. Get some rest. We arrive at the coordinates in 10 hours. As the meeting ended and the officers filed out, Reed remained in the conference room alone. He pulled out a small data chip from his pocket. His private orders from Admiral Wilson, Parker's superior. Unlike Parker, Wilson had always respected the Cipher-8 and its crew. Reed inserted the chip into a reader and encrypted text appeared on the screen. Marcus, the official mission is cover. What you're really looking for is evidence of a Vorn superweapon. Intelligence suggests they've discovered something ancient and powerful. Your outdated ship might be our best asset. The Vorn won't consider you a threat. Be careful, old friend. The fate of the Alliance may depend on what you find. Reed deleted the message and crushed the chip. He had suspected there was more to this mission, but a potential superweapon raised the stakes considerably. The Cipher-8 might be heading toward its final mission, but Reed was determined it would be one that mattered. Maybe then, people would stop calling his ship outdated. He straightened his uniform and headed for the bridge. The crew didn't need to know everything yet. Better to let them rest while they could. Tomorrow, they would face whatever waited for them at the edge of known space, and Reed knew one thing for certain. Outdated or not, the Cipher-8 and its crew wouldn't go quietly into retirement. The alarm woke Captain Reed from a light sleep. He had dozed off in his chair after reviewing old mission logs, searching for any previous encounters with the Vorn that might help their current mission. Captain, to the bridge. Miller's voice came through the comm system. We're approaching the coordinates. Reed straightened his uniform and made his way through the familiar corridors of the Cipher-8. The ship had been his home for so long that he could navigate it with his eyes closed, feeling every vibration and sound like they were extensions of his own body. When he stepped onto the bridge, his crew was already at their stations, faces lit by the glow of control panels. Report, Reed said, settling into his command chair. We're dropping out of faster-than-light travel now, Bryant announced from the helm. The view screen showed the streaking stars slow and settle into distant points of light. Sensors active, Thomas said from the engineering station. Running full spectrum scans. Reed leaned forward. What are we looking at? The view screen adjusted to show what appeared to be empty space, but as the sensors focused, something began to take shape. A massive structure floating against the blackness of space. What is that? Davis asked, voicing what everyone was thinking. Thomas worked his controls, enhancing the image. It's artificial, Captain. Approximately 2 kilometers in length. The structure is made of materials I've never seen before. Our sensors can barely read it. The object on the screen was unlike anything they had encountered. It had a circular design with a hollow center, like a massive ring or gateway. Strange markings covered its surface, glowing with soft blue light. Is it Vorn? Reed asked. Miller shook her head. The design doesn't match any known foreign technology. This is something else entirely. The energy readings are off the charts, Thomas added. It's putting out more power than our ship's reactor, but I can't identify the source. Reed stood and approached the view screen. Take us closer, Bryant. Slow approach. Davis, keep weapons on standby, but do not power them up yet. The Cipher-8 edged toward the mysterious structure. As they drew closer, the blue glow pulsed subtly, as if responding to their presence. Captain, Miller called out, I'm detecting unusual radiation patterns. They're forming what looks like a data stream. Can you decode it? Reed asked. Miller worked at her station. It's not like any communication protocol I've seen, but there's a pattern to it. Give me time, and I might be able to figure something out. Reed nodded. Do what you can. Captain, Thomas interrupted, his voice tense. I'm detecting something else. A gravitational distortion about half a light hour away. Something's coming. Reed turned to Davis. Identify. Davis's fingers flew over his console. Ships. Multiple signatures. They're using some kind of cloaking technology, but our modified sensors can detect their engine emissions. Vorn? Reed asked, though he already knew the answer. Yes, sir. A battle group. 1 command ship and at least 6 support vessels. They're heading straight for us. Reed's mind raced. The Vorn were a militaristic species, proud and aggressive. If they were sending a battle group, they clearly valued this strange structure. Time until they reach us? Reed asked. At their current speed, 15 minutes, Bryant reported. Options? Reed looked at his senior officers. We could try to hide behind the structure, Davis suggested. They'll detect us eventually, Miller countered. We could send a message to command, Bryant offered. Thomas shook his head. The nearest Earth Alliance ship is days away. We're on our own. Reed walked a slow circle around the bridge, considering their situation. The Cipher-8 was outgunned and outmatched. Even with Thomas's modifications, they couldn't hope to defeat a Vorn battle group. Captain, Miller said suddenly, I've made some progress with the data stream. It's not a communication. It's more like a doorway. Explain, Reed demanded. The radiation pattern is creating a stable field in the center of the ring structure. It's similar to the theories about dimensional gateways that scientists have been working on for decades. Thomas moved to Miller's station and studied her readings. She's right. This thing isn't a weapon. It's a gateway to somewhere else. Can we use it? Reed asked. Thomas and Miller exchanged uncertain looks. Theoretically, Thomas said, but we have no idea where it leads. 10 minutes until Vorn intercept, Davis announced. Reed faced a decision that would determine not just their fate, but potentially the fate of Earth. If the Vorn captured this technology, they could use it against the Alliance. Miller, can you activate the gateway? Reed asked. I think so, she replied. The data stream contains what appears to be activation sequences. Do it, Reed ordered. Bryant, position us directly in front of the center of the ring. As Miller worked to decode the activation sequence, the rest of the bridge crew watched in silence. The Vorn ships were growing closer by the minute. Captain, Davis said quietly. What are you planning? Reed met his security chief's gaze. Sometimes the only way out is through. Understanding dawned on Davis's face. You're going to take us through the gateway. It's a risk, Reed acknowledged. But our options are limited. We can surrender to the Vorn, try to fight and certainly lose, or take a chance on the unknown. The old Cipher-8 surprising everyone again, Thomas said with a grim smile. I like it. 5 minutes to Vorn intercept, Bryant reported. They're increasing speed. Miller, Reed asked. I've identified the activation sequence, she replied. Sending it now. The bridge crew watched as the blue glow of the structure intensified. The hollow center began to fill with swirling energy, like water spinning down a drain, but in reverse. Colors that none of them had names for spiraled and danced. It's working, Miller said, her voice filled with awe. The Vorn are hailing us, Davis reported. They're ordering us to move away from the structure. No response. Reed ordered. Bryant, take us in. Full impulse power. Bryant hesitated for just a moment. Sir, we don't know what's on the other side. Reed placed a hand on his helmsman's shoulder. That's true. But we do know what's behind us. Sometimes the unknown is better than certain defeat. Bryant nodded and set the course. All hands secure for possible turbulence, Reed announced shipwide. We're about to make history. The Cipher-8 moved forward, its aging hull reflecting the strange energies emanating from the gateway. As they approached the swirling center, the ship began to vibrate. Structural integrity holding, Thomas reported, but just barely. 2 minutes to Vorn intercept, Davis announced. They're charging weapons. Steady, Reed said, gripping his command chair. Steady. The nose of the Cipher-8 touched the energy field, causing ripples like a stone dropped in a pond. Then, slowly, the ship began to pass through. Energy levels spiking. Thomas shouted over the growing noise of the straining ship. Light filled the bridge, blinding and intense. Reed felt a strange sensation, as if his body was being pulled in all directions at once. The last thing he heard was Davis's voice. The Vorn are firing. Then everything went white, and the Cipher-8, the ship they called outdated, disappeared from known space. Admiral Wilson stood at the large window in Earth Alliance Command Headquarters, watching ships come and go from the orbital station. His reflection showed a man with tired eyes and a deeply lined face, the result of 30 years of military service and the weight of countless difficult decisions. Sir, his assistant said from the doorway, they're ready for you in the situation room. Wilson nodded and straightened his uniform. He had been dreading this meeting since the first report came in 12 hours ago. The situation room was filled with high-ranking officers when Wilson entered. Their conversations stopped immediately, all eyes turning to him. What do we know? Wilson asked without preamble. Colonel Hayes, head of strategic operations, stood and activated the main display. The Cipher-8 reached its assigned coordinates at 700 hours yesterday. They maintained regular communication until 7:42, when they reported discovering an unknown structure. The display showed the last transmission data from the Cipher-8, including grainy images of a massive ring-shaped object. Their final transmission came at 8:03, Hayes continued. After that, nothing. No distress signal, no debris field, nothing to indicate what happened. The ship simply vanished. Could it have been destroyed? Asked General Roberts. Unlikely, Hayes replied. Even if the ship was completely vaporized, which is beyond any known weapon technology, we would detect energy readings or radiation signatures. There's nothing. What about the Vorn? Wilson asked, though he already suspected the answer. Hayes changed the display to show sensor data from a nearby monitoring station. A Vorn battle group was detected entering the area approximately 10 minutes after we lost contact with the Cipher-8. They remained for several hours, then departed. So they either destroyed our ship or captured it, Roberts said. If they had captured or destroyed the Cipher-8, they would be broadcasting it across every channel. Wilson countered. The Vorn never miss an opportunity for propaganda. Perhaps they're keeping it quiet because of what the Cipher-8 found, Hayes suggested. Wilson nodded. The structure. What do we know about it? Hayes looked uncomfortable. Very little, sir. The Cipher-8's data transmission was incomplete. We know it's not of Earth or Vorn origin. Its power output was substantial, beyond anything we've seen before. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. An unknown alien structure with immense power, now potentially in Vorn hands. The diplomatic office received this an hour ago, Wilson said, inserting a data chip into the table's console. The display changed to show a Vorn diplomat, their scaled skin and vertical pupils unmistakable. Earth Alliance Command, the Vorn began. We formally protest your illegal weapons testing in neutral space. Your vessel activated a device of unknown power near our borders. We demand an explanation and reparations for this clear act of aggression." Wilson stopped the recording. "They think we were testing a weapon. Were we?" someone asked quietly. Wilson's expression hardened. The Cipher-8 was sent to investigate anomalous readings, nothing more. Captain Reed had clear orders not to engage with any technology they found. But Wilson knew Reed well enough to doubt he would sit idle if the Vorn appeared. The captain was resourceful and dedicated to protecting Earth, sometimes too dedicated. "We need answers," Wilson declared. "I want a task force assembled to return to those coordinates. Full sensor package, armed escort." "The Vorn won't like that," Roberts warned. "I don't care what the Vorn like," Wilson replied. "I have a missing ship and crew." As the meeting continued, a young analyst named James sat at his workstation several floors below, reviewing the Cipher-8's final transmissions. He had been assigned to do a standard data analysis, but something caught his attention. James enhanced the audio from the ship's last moments. Most of it was standard communication, but beneath that, barely audible, was another signal. He isolated it and ran it through various filters. "That's odd," he muttered. The hidden signal wasn't random noise. It had a pattern, a repeating sequence of tones that didn't match any standard Earth Alliance communication protocol. James pulled up the record of Captain Reed's service history. Reed had served in intelligence before taking command of the Cipher-8. He would know old emergency codes. James's fingers flew over his console as he compared the strange signal to outdated intelligence protocols. Finally, he found a match. A code so old it hadn't been used in 15 years. Decoded, the message was simple but baffling. "Not destroyed. Gateway active. Crossing THRES isolated." James sat back, staring at the words on his screen. If his analysis was correct, the Cipher-8 hadn't been destroyed or captured. They had gone somewhere else. He hesitated only briefly before sending his findings directly to Admiral Wilson. Wilson dismissed the meeting and returned to his office, his mind racing with possible scenarios and contingency plans. When he saw the urgent message from the analysis division, he opened it immediately. 5 minutes later, Wilson locked his office door and activated his secure communication terminal. The face that appeared on the screen belonged to Dr. Lena Wright, head of the Alliance's Classified Dimensional Physics Division. "Admiral," she greeted him. "This is unexpected." "Doctor, what do you know about gateways, specifically interdimensional ones?" Wright's expression changed from surprise to caution. "Such technology is theoretical at best. We've had some success in lab conditions creating microscopic connections between points in spacetime, but nothing stable or large enough to be practical." "What if someone else had succeeded where we failed?" Wilson asked. "Someone else? You mean the Vorn?" "I mean someone else entirely. An unknown civilization with technology far beyond ours or the Vorn's." Wright was silent for a moment. If such technology existed, it would represent the most significant discovery in human history. The ability to move between dimensions would change everything. Travel, resources, possibly even our understanding of reality itself. And if a ship, say, an older model Earth Alliance vessel, were to enter such a gateway. Understanding dawned on Wright's face. Is that what happened to the Cipher-8? Wilson sent her the decoded message. According to this, yes. Wright studied the message, then looked back at Wilson. If they did enter a gateway, there's no way to know where or when they ended up. They could be anywhere in the multiverse, but they might still be alive, Wilson said. Possibly, Wright conceded, but finding them would be like finding a specific grain of sand on all the beaches of Earth. Wilson's expression hardened with determination. Then we'd better start looking. After ending the call, Wilson stood at his window again, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Cipher-8, the ship everyone called outdated, and its crew might still be alive. traveling through dimensions no human had ever seen before. "Find your way home, Marcus," Wilson whispered to the stars. "And until then, I'll make sure no one forgets about you." He turned and activated his secure terminal again. This time, he would assemble a team, not a standard search and rescue, but a covered operation to investigate the gateway and perhaps, somehow, open a path for the Cipher-8 to return. The ship might be outdated by modern standards, but its crew was among the best the Alliance had ever produced. If anyone could survive the impossible, it was them. Pain was the first thing Captain Reed felt when he opened his eyes. His head throbbed, and a warm trickle of blood ran down his temple. The bridge of the Cipher-8 was dark, lit only by emergency lights and sparking control panels. "Status report," he called out, his voice hoarse. He pulled himself up from where he had fallen next to his command chair. Around him, his crew was slowly regaining consciousness. Thomas was already at his engineering station, working to restore power. "Main power is down," Thomas reported. "Life support is running on emergency backups. Hull integrity is at 82%. "Communications?" Reed asked, looking toward Miller's station. Miller, wiping blood from a cut on her forehead, checked her controls. "Communications are offline, Captain. I can't even tell if the system is damaged or if there's simply nothing to communicate with." "Sensors." Davis had managed to get a partial system working. "Limited function, sir. But what I can see." His voice trailed off. "Report, Davis," Reed insisted. "We're not where we were, sir. The stars are all wrong. Constellations don't match any in our database." Reed moved to look at Davis's display. The security chief was right. The star patterns visible outside the ship were completely unfamiliar. "The gateway," Reed said quietly. "It worked. But where are we?" Bryant asked from the helm, which was now flickering back to life as Thomas rerouted power. More importantly, Miller added, "Can we get back?" Reed had no answers for them yet. "Thomas, focus on repairs. First priority is sensors. We need to know what's out there. Then communications and propulsion." "Already on it, Captain," Thomas replied. "But it's going to take time. Some of the systems were fried by whatever energy field we passed through." Reed nodded. "Everyone else, help Thomas or tend to the injured. We'll regroup in 1 hour." 3 hours later, the Cipher-8 had limped to the shadow of a small moon in an unknown star system. Basic systems were functioning again, though many were running at reduced capacity. The crew had gathered in the conference room to assess their situation. Based on stellar positioning and spectrographic analysis, Davis explained, pointing to a display, "We're still in what appears to be the Milky Way galaxy. However, several star systems that should be there are missing, and others we've never recorded are present." "A parallel dimension," Thomas suggested. "The gateway must have sent us to a reality similar to our own, but with differences." "Is there any sign of Earth?" Reed asked. Davis hesitated. "There's a solar system approximately 15 light-years from our position that matches Earth's sun. But without better sensors, I can't confirm if Earth itself exists there." "What about the gateway?" Miller asked. "Can we find our way back?" "The gateway structure doesn't appear to exist in this location in this dimension," Davis said. "At least not that our sensors can detect." Reed considered their options. With limited fuel and damaged systems, they couldn't travel far. But staying in one place meant risking discovery by whoever or whatever existed in this dimension. "We need more information," Reed decided. "Set course for the Earth-like solar system, maximum sustainable speed. We'll approach cautiously and observe before making contact, if Earth exists here." It took the damaged Cipher-8 nearly a week to reach the solar system. As they approached, their improved sensors confirmed what they had hoped for. Earth existed in this dimension too. But as they drew closer, the differences became apparent. "Captain," Davis called out, his voice tense, "I'm detecting large artificial structures in orbit around Earth, dozens of them. Design matches nothing in our database. Military installations. Reed asked. Based on power signatures and configuration, yes. And there's more. The lunar colonies are gone. Instead, there appears to be a massive mining operation. Reed ordered the ship to hold position just beyond Pluto's orbit. Can we monitor their communications? Miller worked at her station. I'm picking up transmissions, but the encryption is unlike anything I've seen. Give me time to analyze it. Hours passed as Miller worked on breaking the encryption. Finally, she succeeded in accessing what appeared to be a news broadcast from Earth. The crew gathered around the view screen, falling silent as the images appeared. Earth was still recognizable, but many cities appeared damaged or rebuilt in an unfamiliar style. The people looked human, but their clothing and appearance were slightly different from what the crew knew. Most shocking was the news itself. Reports of resistance fighters being captured, of alien governors imposing new restrictions, of humans being relocated for labor assignments. They're occupied, Reed said quietly. Earth is under alien control in this dimension. Can we identify the aliens? Thomas asked. Miller adjusted the feed to show footage of the occupiers. Tall, scaled beings with vertical pupils, unmistakably Vorn, but with subtle differences from the ones they knew. It's the Vorn, Davis confirmed, but not exactly our Vorn. Different evolution in this dimension, Thomas suggested. The same species, but their history took a different path. Reed watched the broadcast with a heavy heart. In their dimension, Earth and the Vorn were locked in a cold war, each side wary, but neither willing to risk open conflict. Here, the war had happened, and humanity had lost. Captain, Bryant said suddenly, I'm picking up a ship approaching our position. It's small, possibly a scout vessel. Have they detected us? Reed asked. I don't think so. Their course seems predetermined, like a patrol route. Reed made a quick decision. Intercept course, minimal power. Let's see who they are without revealing ourselves. The Cipher-8 moved silently toward the approaching vessel. As they drew closer, they could see it was indeed a small patrol ship, but not of foreign design. It appeared to be human-made, but cobbled together from mismatched parts. They're transmitting a coded signal, Miller reported. I think it's some kind of identification broadcast. Should I respond? Reed hesitated. Responding could give away their position, but remaining silent might make the patrol ship investigate. Send a standard Earth Alliance greeting, Reed decided. Let's see how they react. Miller transmitted the message. For long moments, there was no response. Then the patrol ship changed course, heading directly for them. They're powering weapons, Davis warned. Hold position, Reed ordered. Shields up, but do not arm weapons. The view screen activated, showing the face of the patrol ship's captain, a human woman with a scared face and hard eyes. Unknown vessel, she said, her voice tense. Identify yourself immediately or be destroyed. That was an Earth Alliance code from before the fall. Who are you? Reed stepped forward. I am Captain Marcus Reed of the Earth Alliance vessel Cipher-8. We are not from your dimension. We came through a gateway and are seeking information. The woman's expression changed from suspicion to shock. The Cipher-8 was destroyed 12 years ago during the first foreign invasion. If this is some kind of foreign trick. Not a trick, Reed assured her. In our dimension, Earth and the Vorn are in a stalemate. We accidentally traveled through a gateway while investigating this strange structure. The woman was silent for a long moment, studying Reed and the bridge of the Cipher-8. Finally, she spoke again. If you're telling the truth, you need to come with us immediately. The Vorn patrol will be here within an hour. Where would you take us? Reed asked. To what's left of the resistance, she replied, and to someone who might believe your story, the only surviving officer from this dimension's Cipher-8. The resistance base was hidden deep inside an asteroid in the belt between Mars and Jupiter. As the Cipher-8 followed the patrol ship into a concealed hangar, Reed marveled at the ingenuity of the humans who had created this secret fortress. They've hollowed out the entire asteroid, Thomas said, examining the sensor readings, power systems, life support, even artificial gravity, all hidden from Vorn scanners. The Cipher-8 settled onto the landing pad, and Reed ordered the crew to prepare for contact. They had no idea what kind of reception awaited them in this alternate dimension. When the airlock opened, they found themselves facing a dozen armed resistance fighters. At the front stood the woman from the patrol ship, and beside her, an older man with a mechanical right arm and familiar eyes that widened in shock when he saw Reed. "It really is you," the man said in a voice Reed recognized despite its rougher edge. Reed stared at his counterpart from this dimension, an older, battle-scarred version of himself. "You're me," the other Reed nodded, "or who you might have become in a world where the Vorn won." He turned to the fighters. "Stand down. They're not a threat." As the weapons lowered, the two Reeds studied each other. Same face, different destinies. "Call me Marcus," the counterpart said, "since we can't both be Captain Reed. And this is Commander Jackson, my second in command." The scared woman nodded curtly. "You should come with us. The Council will want to hear your story." The Resistance Council chamber was a converted cargo hold, filled with maps, communication equipment, and a large table where a dozen people now sat listening to Reed explain their journey through the gateway. "In our dimension," Reed concluded, "Earth and the Vorn maintain an uneasy peace. Neither side has a clear advantage. That changed here when they found the Ancient One's technology," Marcus said. "Weapons beyond anything we could counter. The war lasted less than a year." "The Ancient Ones?" Miller asked. "The civilization that built the gateway," Commander Jackson explained. "They left structures like it throughout the galaxy millions of years ago. The Vorn found one and used it to enhance their weapons technology." Thomas leaned forward eagerly. "But the gateway we came through, it still exists in our dimension. Could we use it to help you?" A scientist on the council shook her head. "The gateways are paired systems. The one in this dimension was destroyed by the Vorn after they used it, to prevent any other species from gaining the same advantage." "Then how do we get back home?" Bryant asked the question on everyone's mind. Marcus exchanged looks with the council members. "We might have a way. We've been working on recreating gateway technology using what we've learned from Ancient One artifacts. It's not complete, but with your ship's data on the original gateway, you want to rebuild it," Reed realized. "Not just to send us home, but to give your resistance an advantage." "Exactly," Marcus confirmed. "Your ship, your outdated Cipher-8, might be exactly what we need." Reed's crew looked to him. The decision was complex. Helping could further entangle them in this dimension's war, but refusing would leave both them and the Resistance with few options. "Show us what you have," Reed decided. Days turned into weeks as the crew of the Cipher-8 worked alongside the Resistance. Thomas and the Resistance engineers analyzed the ship's sensor logs of the gateway, while Miller helped decrypt Vorn communications to learn more about their security protocols. "There's something else," Thomas told Reed one evening. "Something unusual about why our ship was able to pass through the gateway safely." "What do you mean?" Reed asked. "Modern Earth Alliance ships have quantum-aligned shield systems. According to the Resistance scientists, those systems would have catastrophically interacted with the gateway energy field. But the Cipher-8 shields are older," Reed realized. Thomas nodded. "Our outdated technology saved us, and it might be the key to defeating the Vorn here." The plan came together piece by piece. The Resistance would use the Cipher-8's older technology to create weapons and shields that the Vorn couldn't easily detect or counter. Meanwhile, the partial gateway they had been building would be completed using the data from Reed's ship. "It won't be stable for long," the lead scientist explained during the final briefing. "Maybe enough for your ship to pass through, but that's it." "What about your people?" Reed asked Marcus. "We'll use what we've learned from you to continue the fight," Marcus replied. "Your shield and weapons designs will give us a real chance against the Vorn." "You could stay," Commander Jackson suggested. Your crew, your ship, you could make a difference here. Reed looked at his crew. They had discussed this possibility privately. Staying would mean never seeing their homes again, but they could help turn the tide for humanity in this dimension. Bryant spoke for all of them. Our dimension needs to know about the gateway, about the ancient ones. If the Vorn in our reality find this technology first. Reed nodded. We need to go back, but we'll leave you with everything we have. Technical specifications, tactical data, all of it. Marcus understood. One Cipher-8 might be gone from this dimension, but another brought us hope. Maybe that's how it was meant to be. The day of departure came too quickly. The Resistance had installed the gateway components in a remote section of the asteroid belt, far from Vorn patrols. The Cipher-8, repaired and improved with Resistance modifications, hovered before the incomplete ring structure. Gateway powering up, Thomas reported from engineering. Energy patterns matched those from our original crossing. Reed opened a channel to the Resistance base. Marcus, are you receiving? Loud and clear, his counterpart replied. Gateway is at 60% power and rising. Remember, you'll have only moments to cross once it stabilizes. Reed looked around at his crew, now at their stations and ready for the journey home. Whatever happens, it's been an honor to serve with all of you. This mission revealed more than we ever expected, and you've all performed admirably. Vorn ships detected. Davis suddenly called out. 3 cruisers heading this way. They must have detected the gateway power signature. Time to activation, Reed asked. 2 minutes, Thomas replied. The Vorn will be in weapons range in 3. Reed made a quick decision. Marcus, we're going to draw them away from the gateway. Once it's active, we'll circle back. That's cutting it close, Marcus warned. The old Cipher-8 has a few tricks left, Reed assured him. This ship may be outdated, but it still has fight in it. The Cipher-8 accelerated away from the gateway, deliberately letting the Vorn detect them. As expected, the enemy ships changed course to pursue. They're taking the bait, Davis confirmed. Now, Bryant, Reed ordered. Execute pattern Omega. The helmsman grinned as he activated the maneuver they had practiced. The Cipher-8 cut its engines, spun 180 degrees, and fired its afterburners directly at the lead Vorn ship. The unexpected move caused the Vorn vessels to scatter, buying precious seconds. Gateway at full power, Thomas shouted. It's stable. Reed ordered a hard turn back toward the gateway. The swirling energy field had formed in the center of the incomplete ring, their door home. The Vorn are regrouping, Davis warned. Firing range in 30 seconds. All power to engines, Reed commanded. Straight through the middle. The Cipher-8 raced toward the gateway as energy blasts from the Vorn ships began to fill space around them. Just before they reached the threshold, Reed sent one final message. Thank you, Marcus. Keep fighting. In at least one universe, humanity will never surrender. Then the Cipher-8 hit the energy field. Light engulfed the ship, and once again, they vanished. They emerged into familiar space, the original gateway still spinning with energy before them. But they weren't alone. A joint Earth-Vorn task force had surrounded the structure, weapons trained on it. Multiple ships detected, Davis reported. Earth Alliance and Vorn. They're not firing at each other. We're being hailed, Miller announced. It's Admiral Wilson. The Admiral's shocked face appeared on screen. Reed, is that really you? Reed smiled tiredly. Yes, sir. The Cipher-8 is returning to duty, and we have quite a story to tell. As Reed began his report, he realized that the ship once ridiculed as outdated had not only survived the impossible, but had forever changed 2 dimensions. Sometimes, he thought, the old ways still had value, a lesson both humanity and the Vorn would soon learn.